Bitácora espacial. Me he despertado del hipersueño en un planeta extraño.
Now what did you do?
I just did what you told me.
Estoy rodeado por criaturas extrañas y desconozco sus intenciones. ¿Quién anda ahí? ¿Amigo o enemigo?
Amigos. We're all amigos.
Me debo de haber estrellado y se me ha borrado la memoria. ¿Han visto mi nave espacial?
We gotta switch him back.
Hello. Please come in. There's some fresh cookies in the cookie jar. There's a pitcher of Kool-Aid on the counter. Have a seat. We'll put a movie on for you. This is Movies at Grandma's House, where we look at the movies from the past to see if they're still good today. And I'm your host, Isaac. It was cold and dark, nothing but sand and a couple of Lincoln logs. And who's with me to finish up the beloved Toy Story trilogy?
This is Seth. I don't think those were Lincoln logs.
Very nice. Love it. It is fantastic to see you. How are you, Seth?
I am hanging in there. It's been kind of crazy lately, but I'm doing all right.
Well, I'm glad. I'm glad you're here, because this is a special episode. We are here at what we consider to be the finale for peak Pixar. Here we are. Can you believe it? How are you feeling?
I'm amazed how fast it went. Like, I thought, we would take our time, we would get through them, and it would be, and it's just so fast. It's just amazingly how fast it went.
It is. I'm the same. I feel the same way. And it's, what's the old saying, time is fun when you're having flies, or strike that, reverse it. No, we've just been having a fun time, though. It's like they say, time really does go by, and all these films have had a special place. I think we can both agree. They just are really fantastic movies. This is living up to the name of peak Pixar for sure. So I'm excited to get into it. Like we said, this is the finale of our peak Pixar series. But before we jump into it, if you are watching us on YouTube, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcast, be sure you hit that subscribe button, you hit the like button, so you'll be notified when all things Movies at Grandma's House comes out. You'll be up to date and ready to go. Also, if you've not seen this movie, please stop what you're doing. Go watch it now. It's on Disney Plus. You can watch it there. I'm sure you own it somewhere. Somebody's probably owned it. This was a smash hit movie. We'll talk about it, but be sure you watch this first and then come on back, because we're going to have a lot of fun with this one. This is the third Toy Story. Yes, Toy Story 3. It was released back on June 18th, 2010. So 14 years ago. We're talking, this is when it was released. It had a budget of $200 million. It hit the big 200. For Pixar, that was just, wow, just to think about it. But the box office was an astounding $1.067 billion. That's billion with a B. Yes, this was Pixar's first billion-dollar feature film. Just wow. I still can't get over that. I see that number, and that's kind of how movies are anymore, but it's still amazing to me that this was the movie to do it. And I can recall this was every bit as popular. Kind of looking at the reviews, it's got the Pixar rating. I mean, it's 98% on Rotten Tomatoes, 92% on Metacritic. So yeah, let's jump into it. What are some first memories you have? This is a 14-year-old movie, but what are some things that you remember about this film when it first came out?
So I remember seeing this on the big screen and being enthralled by the storytelling. That's really what got me was the storytelling of this one.
I agree. The story in this one is very unique. The first two, I enjoy those stories too, but this one, I was always wondering where is the story going to go with this, and very similar to yours. I saw it in the theater, and I thought this is really engaging. It
Yeah.
took it in a different direction. We'll touch on it more when we get into it, but it was very just unique, and I really enjoyed the direction they went. So I recall enjoying watching it. There was a group of us that went and saw it, and we each had our own like favorite characters, and we would just kind of talk about the funny parts. There's lots of funny parts throughout this. We'll of course talk about some of those as well. But with that in mind, it was 14 years ago. So I'm curious, what was your expectations then when it came to the rewatch?
Pretty familiar with this one, so really it was just sit back and enjoy the journey.
Me as well, and Toy Story is a popular movie series, not just this one specifically, but the series in our
Mhm.
household with the kids. So I just love watching their reactions when they laugh or they enjoy certain parts. So that was my expectations too. Just go in and have fun with the kids. Pretty much was my expectation. And see if there's anything else I missed on it too, because there's always something it seems like you can always pick out in these Pixar movies. They do a good job at hiding it. So, but with that said, let's get into it. Let's take the VHS out of the cover, put it in the VCR, and press play.
With Andy preparing to leave for college, some of his toys are bound for the attic, while some, the trash, and some find themselves donated to the daycare. The daycare is more like a nightmare run by the teddy bear named Lotso, who runs with cruelty. It's more like a prison. As Woody tries to convince the others that it was a mistake that Andy doesn't consider them junk, we take a ride and meet new characters, reestablishing Andy's love, loyalty, and the bond of friendships.
Yes, very nice. I like that. I like this description of a daycare. It is kind of a nightmare. As much as
I'll get into that later.
Very nice touch, though. I like that. So yeah, I mean, when you're watching this movie, there's nothing to start out that's unfamiliar. This is just getting you reacquainted with some old friends. You're getting up to date with all the years that have passed. But yeah, what are some first impressions? Even though you kind of know what to expect when you're watching. I mean, this is the third Toy Story, but what was kind of some things that stuck out to you when you're watching this film?
This is one that I don't know how to quite put this in words, but I'm going to try. So this is one where at my age, when I saw it, it's like so much has happened since the first two.
Yeah.
And it kind of, I was waiting for like a little bit of a push in that direction. And they really pulled that off well.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a different setting, and it starts out kind of happy because it's
Yeah.
showing all these memories of Andy and all the memories of him playing like home movie style.
Mm-hmm.
And it's opening with before that, it's just a fun time. I love that opening scene, and we can come back to that because there's a lot to unpack with that opening sequence. But yeah, it's on a very high, and then it just kind of drops it down like, well, actually, this is the new reality. They're not being played with anymore because Andy's older. He's going to go off to college, and it's the life of a toy. They kind of accept that. They have this, all right, we're up to the attic. And to me, that's like, whoa, that's pretty depressing. I thought at the time, even when I first saw it, but they're kind of accepting of it. I guess, I think it was uh, Slinky Dog says there's a TV up there or something. I guess they'll just watch TV for eternity or something. It's like, oh, but yeah, that's something that just sticks out to me too. I mean, did you notice that they didn't have? I don't know. That it was just it was a positive but a negative. Does that make sense? I'm trying to put that into words. Like it was a good way they did it. I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I would have to say you're gonna have to elaborate more on what you're
Just the like I said, it made it on a positive, and then it kinda drops it down to a depressing, like, "Oh, you guys are going up to the attic," but it did it in
Oh,
the right
okay.
way, in a positive.
Yeah,
Did
for
you get that
sure.
feeling?
Yeah, yeah,
Kind of?
yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah, I don't know, I was trying to go off on another explanation, I guess, but it's yeah, it's just a good way. I appreciate the way they handle it. We just talked about Up, and that's very much reality of this is very realistic, but very sad, depressing. This was doing the realistic, but I don't know, it didn't feel as depressing. I guess that's the point I was trying to make, where I was going with
Okay,
that.
okay. It stayed positive where it could have gone negative, is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Yes. Now they almost get thrown out in the trash. That's kind of the
Yeah.
plot. But again, it's Andy doesn't want to throw him away. He just wants to keep him kind of as a keepsake and tries to take Woody with him, and that's where the plot kind of unfolds there. They get separated because he's trying to help him out of the trash and so on. But going back to the opening sequence, what'd you think of that? I mean, it's the first thing you see as the movie is starting. It's like a cinematic movie going on.
Yeah, you're talking about, their like, the home video, right? Like, the
Yeah, so,
it's
like, where it starts out and it's, Woody saving, um,
yes, 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 yes,
everybody
yes,
with
yes,
the
yes,
with
yes.
the train. Yeah,
Yes,
what'd you think
yes.
about that?
I thought that was probably one of the better intros they've done. It's hard to top the first one, that's for sure, but, um, it was just well put together. I would think that the if I had to, like, really dissect, maybe, I think the dialogue was the strongest at the beginning of the film,
Yeah.
and then it kinda flows a little bit and maybe loses a little bit and then comes back at the end, but, at the beginning, the opening scene with One Eye Bart and everything, it was just hysterical. Truly hysterical.
Yeah, that's just what draws me in every time I see this movie. I mean, it's just it starts the movie off with a bang. It's reenacting the first movie of Andy playing with his toys,
Yeah.
but it's like what Andy's imagining. It's what he's seeing, and we've all done that. We have toys we're playing with, but it's not the toys we're seeing. We're enacting, and we have this like real action sequence or whatever is going on. And
Mhm.
Dr. Evil Pork Chop or Evil Dr. Pork Chop. I mean, that's so great. Put ham in there, the barrel of monkeys that drops from the sky and Buzz is in the save. And yeah, it's just a fun time. And that's kind of setting the tone because it becomes a fun time. Like you talked about, it's a daycare and it's kind of a nightmare, but it's still a really fun time. Uh Going along with the plot, I mean, we talked about that. This is a unique plot. So what are some points about it that kind of jump out to you when it comes to the story?
Um, I think this is very character heavy, and I love the way they introduced new characters and like established them as friendships really quickly. Even at first when they, I mean, I don't want to like go over the whole film, but when they get into the daycare, it seems like everything's wonderful. You know what I mean? And then it turns into a nightmare, like you said, and it's just all these characters are just come up and it plays such a wonderful part. I mean, like the surveillance dancing monkey thing. I love that. That was hysterical.
Yeah.
We'll I'm sure we'll dissect the characters or something, but yeah, the plot is it's so unique. It I don't know how they were able to do that with a third film.
That's how I felt too. Because if you were to ask me, what would you make the third Toy Story about before it would come out? We've seen the first two and the progression it's going.
Mhm.
I don't know if I would jump that far in time. I would probably keep Andy maybe as a teenager, maybe preteens,
Mhm.
and kind of have a story there, but it would be really tricky to come up with something that would be original, I guess. It was almost like, okay, are they just going to stick to what the first two did? Maybe there's some kind of conflict with the new toy. Is there one gets separated? It kind of starts that way, but it's more okay, the toys have accepted that they're not being played with anymore. And as a toy, that's what makes you feel complete. They kind of establish that's what all toys want. And they're going to be put in the attic, but then they go to this daycare. They get separated because they accidentally get thrown out and they're able to escape. They get in the box that uh, Andy's mom's taken to donate, and they
Yeah.
think, "Oh, this is where I should live. This is where I should be at." But like we've talked about, no, this is actually a terrible place. And just that thought alone of putting the setting now in a daycare, very clever. I always thought that was
Mhm.
just wow, that is such a great idea because like you talked about, there's so many characters in this now, and they're all, in my opinion, in their different ways, really fitting. They're really fun. And then we'll talk about it's is it Bonnie, the girl that's the daycare's daughter that Woody ends up with? I'm all of a sudden blanking on it, but I think it's Bonnie.
I was
Her
on the
toy
same track as you where I'm looking real quick.
I'm thinking it's Bonnie, but she's the one that has all the toys and Woody ends up at her house and everything. So there's all these characters. Yeah, they're just well done. Why don't we just jump into that? Yeah, what did you think of the characters? What are some that come out to your mind, or even voice acting? We've talked about that in the past, but any new ones that you noticed?
It was Bonnie, I checked.
Okay,
We were
okay,
both
good.
looking I was looking it up as you were saying it. I thought that was kinda funny. Um, um, I love it. I think it's, Pickle is it Pickle Pants or something? Pickle
Is that the daycare or is that Bonnie's? Now I'm
Mr.
blanking.
Prickle Pants, Mr. Prickle Pants. I love that character. A lot of the new characters were just so well put. It's like
Yeah.
they knew exactly what we wanted, and they put him in. I have a fun fact for you. I didn't put this in my notes, but I did come across this.
Okay.
So the voice of Andy, they of course couldn't use him for the young Andy because he was grown up.
Yeah.
So they hired another actor to do young Andy because AI wasn't out at the time. You couldn't like redo his voice to be younger. So they had another actor. Did you know that they didn't use the same dialogue from the first two? It's completely different dialogue.
I didn't know that. No.
Yeah, I didn't either. I was really shocked. I didn't know that. That's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, because I think does it give the credit to whoever does the younger one? Because I'm thinking I thought it said that John Morris did the voice of Andy, and we're big fans of his because
Well, he
and we
he
have Andy or bust, so we've been wanting little
yeah,
insert there.
Charlie Bright, young Andy.
Okay.
Andy does do his own voice for when he's older,
Yeah.
but I guess Charlie Bright did his young Andy, which I thought was really hilarious because I mean they could have made it work if they clipped parts of the dialogue together from the first two films. I That's how I would have done it. I just thought it was really interesting fun fact that
Yeah,
they
that
used two different Andys in the movie.
I didn't know that. That's interesting. I thought it was one person, and that was the thing that was so neat about this
Oh,
trilogy is the
I
voices.
ruined it for you, didn't I?
It didn't ruin it. It just makes it interesting because I think they did that tells you they did a good job. I
Yeah.
thought, they just kinda maybe they put some effects on it or something like that. Um, but that's really cool. Yeah. Mr. Pricklepan, yeah, he's a great character, and it's, Timothy Dalton that does his voice. So, he's kind of that Shakespearean, like, he's trying to be an actor, like, hedgehog kind of toy. It's just fun. They're just fun toys. I like the peas in the pod because 'cause they're just really ornery. They're always, like seem like
Yes.
they're trying to make trouble. Um, and I mean, yeah, you mentioned Lotso. Ken is just kind of a scene stealer, I think. I mean,
Mhm.
Michael Keaton. What'd you think about Michael Keaton as Ken?
I don't know how you could have chemistry going back and forth voiceover work, but Ken and Barbie to me, like you said, kind of stole the film their dialogue was so funny. I mean, everything they said back and forth was just hilarious.
Yeah. I love the scene where, Buzz is trying to sneak over and see what's going on. It's at night, and he's kind of up on the top of the door, and he's looking out, and Ken and Barbie are saying goodnight, and he's like, "Okay, you say it," and they're just doing the lovey-dovey back and forth. He's like, "Okay, I'll start. I," and then she says, "Love." He's like, "You." "Okay, now you start." Then we each say every word. And I don't know why I find that funny, but to me, if a Ken and Barbie doll came to life, that's the exact personality I would imagine them being. It's just why I
I
love it.
think I think my favorite part for them was when she was tearing up his clothes and he was all tied to the bouncy thing, whatever that's called. That cracked me up because he was so animated. He was like freaking out over his clothes. It was not that one, not that one.
That's a great scene. I love that, and it worked. It worked. You know, she was trying to get him to talk and be able to help out the rest of the toys, but they definitely are scene stealers. You have your original cast, and unfortunately, one thing to bring out is some of the voice actors had passed away. You have Jim Varney, so I believe it was Blake Clark that did Slinky Dog, and he does a good job, but you can tell there's a difference. There's just only one Jim Varney, but I still commend them for being able to have someone close so that it's just kind of a I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but it's almost honoring him in a way.
Oh, another little fun fact is I found this in research is that Blake Clark was actually friends with him.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of what got him the job was that he was friends with him, and it was kind of like an honorary thing to do.
Yeah.
And I thought it worked well. I mean, there's a slight difference, but yeah, it works, it's nice to know that he was actually a physical friend of his that took up the role.
Yeah. Yeah. He did a great job. That's not knocking him at all. I agree with you because again, you're just gonna have certain voices. It's just not gonna quite sound the same, but he comes really close. I mean, he does a really good job. So it's just kind of sad though, because whenever I watch this film, I'm reminded, oh yeah, you know, this isn't Jim Varney. Um, I believe this was Don Rickles last time as Mr. Potato Head. So
I
very
believe that's right.
yeah, so very bittersweet. You know, it's a happy movie, but it kind of makes you sad a little bit because yeah, this movie spanned almost 20 years. It was about 15 years. And some of
Mhm.
these actors that played these characters, they were already up in age. So
Mhm.
it's still sad though. I guess I didn't mean to be a downer about it, but just a little bit of a when you're looking at it after the fact, it's kind of sad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and then you kind of grow up with these characters, and that's what makes a bond, and you feel a loss when there's some, they're not there anymore. And yeah, I get you completely.
Yeah. But they did a great job. I don't think you can really complain about the one characters that are replaced in it. They did a good job. My favorite, I like a lot. There's so many. I mean, to go on about on the characters, but if I were to pick one, for some reason, Chuckles the Clown resonated with me when I first saw it. I have no idea, but I love that character. He's just very poker face, just very.
Yes.
And it's kind of sad because he shows a flashback and he's actually happy,
Yeah.
and because of the situation that happened with Lotso turning and, making the daycare out to be what it was, you know, he
Yeah.
felt abandoned. Now he's this kind of sad clown, but I don't know, I just of all the characters, it's probably like, "What? That's one," but I remember just thinking, "I love this character." There's just something about his energy as much as it's very, uh I don't know, maybe I could relate to it in some ways or something,
No,
but
I get it. I get where you're coming from. I love that character, and to see his range, like even though it's just animated, to see his range it's interesting. Definitely.
yeah. And like when he's telling the story, he's like making it very dramatic. So I don't know. It's something appealed to me about that. But the characters are just great. You know, this is Pixar really turning it up. They know what they're good at, I guess is the best way to put it. And one of them that we've talked about is the characters. I mean, they're great at telling stories, but they're really good at if they're existing, you know, in this case, it's a sequel, continuing the story with these characters, but also introducing new characters. They're so good at that. And this is a really good example of that. What did you think of the animation? That's something that stuck out to me too, just especially when you go back to the first Toy Story compared to this. I thought this was, I mean, the budget was 200 million. I think they definitely put it into this one. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I was gonna actually talk about that for a second when you mentioned it, but I thought I forgot already. Um, the animation is so much more crisp
Yeah.
than the first two. It's definitely it's more lifelike, if that makes sense, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Um, I wanted to mention real quick, Christian Shaw, I think is how you pronounce her name. She played Trixie.
Yeah. Yeah.
She was hysterical in that movie as well. I mean,
Yeah.
she was a great add for the cast and a very good comedic actress.
She's just that character. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's another one of those, if they would give her the spotlight a little more, she would have been more of a scene stealer. And she is to me. Like I enjoyed her character, but there's just so many characters and so much of the plot that takes place in the daycare. You only see a little bit of a glimpse with those characters that are in Bonnie's collection. So yeah, she's one I really enjoyed too. She's hilarious. And oh, what is his name? He plays the unicorn.
Oh.
I'm blanking. We're doing
Got it pulled up.
I'm doing such a bad job with names tonight. This is kind of sad, but he's hilarious too. And he's been in a lot of roles, so his voice to me, I recognize it, but for some reason I'm blanking on his name. It's like, how did I do that?
Seeing the unicorn must have a different character name.
Jeff Garland, that's it. It came to me. He was
Oh yeah.
he was Buttercup.
Buttercup, yeah. Yeah.
But they have a good chemistry. I mean, you're talking about Trixie, Buttercup, and Mr. Prickly Pants.
Yeah.
Who would have thought, right? They're just so
Oh
different.
my goodness.
But I think they mesh well. You could tell they have that like chemistry, like they're in a kid's toy collection. Kind of, I don't know. That was my toy collection growing up. I had just assortments of different things. It wasn't like I had a set. I might have had one character from this and one character from that.
Mhm.
So maybe that's why it related to me. But I thought they
Yeah.
were terrific. Yeah, for sure.
If I could go back for a second,
Yeah.
so something I should have talked about a second ago. For the inspiration of the scenes at Sunnyside Escape, the Pixar staff watched several prison movies.
Okay.
And I forget the end of that trivia. They say something like, there's lots of prison movies and we watched them all. and they were trying to set the scene of what it would be like to be like under lockdown and everything. And I thought that was to me one of the highlights of the film.
I wouldn't be surprised. I thought that because when you're watching it, it's like, wow, this is very specific and detailed for, I mean, this is a daycare, but it's the telephone.
Yeah.
I don't know if there was a name for them, but those roller telephones.
Yeah.
It's telling Woody how to, like, the only way that you're going to be able to escape. You have to watch out for the monkey, and then there's trolls and all this stuff. And it's like, wow, this is very thought out, very detailed. So that makes a lot of sense to what you're saying. If they watched all these prison movies, they were thinking of if this teddy bear that smells like strawberries took over a daycare and wanted to keep it on lockdown, that's exactly what he'd have to do. It was like, yes, it is very efficient and very much on lockdown like a prison would be. So that's really cool. That's
I like knowing those little things about the Pixar staff. That's kind of neat to see where they get their inspiration from and things.
I wonder if they watched Cool Hand Luke. That's what another one it kinda reminded me
They
of.
said they watched them all, so I'm thinking all the heavy hitters, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm sure I kinda get a sense of it, like, with the box where they put the toys in the
Mhm.
box. I'm sure they got that inspiration from there, and I'm sure there's other prison movies that have that as well, but
Yeah.
that's funny, yeah, Buzz ends up getting reset where he's
Mhm.
changed, and come to behold, he comes to be Spanish Buzz. What'd you think of Spanish Buzz? I have to ask.
So towards the end of my notes, I've got Spanish Buzz was hysterical. I love Spanish Buzz. I think my favorite thing about it is his dancing. His
Yeah,
dancing is just so funny. Like he's flamenco dancing.
yes.
It's hysterical because you wouldn't think Buzz is so straight laced all the time, and you wouldn't think of him as being like moving like that. I don't know. I thought it was hysterical. I loved it. It was another highlight to the film.
I agree. It's just so much fun to see him. He's still in character. He still thinks he's the Buzz, Buzz Lightyear, but yeah, it's just Spanish and just fun. He's got this new energy, like you said. It's like a more energetic Buzz, and he just speaks Spanish. It's just fun. And he's still enthralled with Jessie. He still is like calls her, the señorita that her good looks and all that. I thought that was hilarious. Like he still didn't lose that. Apparently, Buzz has a type, is what we're learning. Cowgirls, redheaded cowgirls is Buzz's types. Who would have thought a space ranger?
A space ranger.
Just that's just so much fun though. Oh, I'm blanking on it because my Spanish is so bad, but when he presses the button to say "to infinity and beyond," he says it in Spanish.
Oh,
I lose it
oh,
every time.
I can't think of it, but yeah, that is great.
Yeah, my Spanish don't ask me to do Spanish, but my wife will kill me because she took Spanish and will always correct me when I'm trying to speak it, but I
I
apologize.
I can sing along a little bit, and I can tell what people are saying if they go slow, but when I try to speak it, it's not quite up to snuff.
Yeah. I commend you because it's like I'm just not. It doesn't come naturally for me. So anyone that is able to speak Spanish, English, multiple languages, I'm always impressed by that. That's just not one of my strong suits. So I apologize for that, but I still enjoy it. I still enjoy it because it
Yeah,
makes so
yeah.
much sense that yeah, they should have toys that can also speak Spanish or another language depending on your area. And, yeah, I've seen toys like that you could switch it over to Spanish, so I thought that was a real fun touch. It's very fitting.
That's awesome.
Now, is that a fun fact? Kinda going along those lines, did you notice what the batteries were on Buzz?
Oh, no. I do not know, what the batteries what reference they made.
It was by and large batteries.
Oh, okay.
So they had a little Wally reference from
Okay.
couple movies back. I thought that was really cool. If you it's right when they open it up and they're holding him down to switch it over to reset him.
I never noticed.
Yeah, just
That's
cool.
really cool.
Yeah, just again, that's what Pixar does. They just kinda give you these little if you're paying attention, you might catch it here and there. So, yeah, any other, scenes or fun facts? I'm interested to hear.
There's so much I could talk about, but I will rattle off a couple fun facts for you. So you already mentioned it, but I'll go over it again. First animated film to achieve $1 billion at the box office. What an accomplishment.
Mm.
Pixar is cementing their status. I mean, what a heavy hitter this movie was. And $200 million is unheard of for animated film. That's just wow, 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 wow. Another big stat thing is that there were 302 characters in this movie, the most
What?
of any Pixar picture. Yeah,
Oh my gosh. It
think of
makes
all the
sense.
characters in the sunny side.
It's not shocking. It's just still surprising, like, if you were to quiz me, like, how many do you think? I probably was gonna say, like, at least 100, but not
Yeah, I would too.
whew, man.
Yeah, 302. So the Pizza Planet truck can be seen in the flashback of Lotso. So I'm
Yeah.
not sure how many people caught that, but it's there.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
iconic
but
because they're riding on the back of it
yeah,
after they're abandoned. I
yeah,
mean, it's not too much hidden, but you could miss it for sure if you're not
yeah.
paying attention.
Um, this was the first Pixar movie to be shown in IMAX,
Oh,
which
interesting.
I'm sure you and I we both saw a lot of IMAX movies. Yeah,
Yeah,
years back for sure. Um, the A113 can be seen on the license plate again.
yeah.
Um, I love the harmonica when he plays it in the cell. Very clever. Um, I wanted to say just I guess we could get to this a little bit later. No, I'll skip that. And come to it. Back to it. So the
Yeah,
Luxor Junior Ball can be seen in the credits,
that's
like in the
right.
credit roll.
Okay.
And then I do want to talk about this before the end, but we can come to that as we get closer to the end of the podcast because I just want to talk about the ending for a second
Yeah,
of the
yeah, don't
movie.
feel like that's some awesome fun facts. I didn't make it feel like you had to do all the fun facts, but that's a good one. We can always come back to them. Yeah.
I feel like there's so much substance that if I didn't get them out, we're gonna miss them. So I
Yeah.
wanted to get them out of the way.
Those are terrific though. Yeah, all of those are great, and I didn't see it in IMAX, but man, that would have been a lot of fun to see in IMAX. Certain movies, it felt like we're in IMAX, and maybe you just didn't have to see it, but I think that would have been a fun one to see, now that
Yeah,
I'm thinking about it, especially all the toys that you're saying
yeah,
300 of them. You could see that on IMAX, that would have
yeah,
been
yeah, yeah.
amazing, yeah. But yeah, what else did you wanna touch on? I mean, there's so much, again, to unpack with this movie, but just some things that you wanna make sure you at least mention.
So before we get to our reviews, I have to say this. So the ending of this film totally wrecked me. I remember giving away most of my toys when I was younger, so it really hit me. Like that was
Mm,
a big deal, and the way they did that was so well done. I mean, you can tell not to give away the ending. I mean, I guess I just did.
yeah. Hey, we
um,
gave the proper spoiler, so go
spoiler,
have
yeah.
at it. Have at
Um,
it.
so so Andy is conflicted when he sees his toys, and then he goes, "Are you sure this is supposed to go to this address or whatever?" And his mom's like, "Yeah, if that's what you want." And he's driving there, and you could see the anxiousness in his face. And then when he gets there, he's overcome with the beauty of a child playing with toys again.
Yeah.
And I was blown away. I mean, I was just devastated by how beautiful that final scene was for
Yeah.
that movie. I don't know. I'll let you speak before I
And
start crying.
I it's a very emotional scene. I agree with you. So no shame in that, because when this came out, I will say that hit me the most. But I don't know if you got this same reception. People were talking more about the junkyard when it looks like they're about to go into the fire. I think a lot of people thought that was the route Pixar was going, was like, well, we're going to end this one, folks. They're just going to burn alive. I didn't think that, but I mean, it's an emotional scene. I'll say that. It's sad. It's kind of like, oh, that's, they're coming together and holding hands. That's what people said. Oh, when they started holding hands, that really hit me. And I'm not knocking you, but to your point, that's what I thought was really emotional, because I kept hearing, oh, when they were going down in the junkyard, but I was like, well, yeah, that was an impactful scene. But yeah, I agree with you. The giving away the toys, I think everybody can relate to. You have those sentimental toys that, you think back of when you were younger, and you realize, you're older now and you don't play with them. But it is, if you're giving it away, it's like you're giving a part of yourself up. And
Yeah.
you're seeing that with Andy, exactly what you're saying. Just the way that's conveyed in animation, I've always appreciated that. And I always thought, like, the voice acting that Andy has as well, like in his voice, you can kind of hear that he's almost getting choked. He is, he's getting a little choked up about it, but he understands that's for the for Bonnie, and he's happy to give him away. You know,
Yeah.
he's happy to see it, but it's a kind of a bittersweet moment. Yeah, he's moving to college, going off to college, and he's kind of putting that past behind him in a symbolic way with those toys. That's how I took it anyway. Is that kind of how you took it?
Yeah, and then also the trade-off of, like, now she can protect them,
Yeah.
which I thought was beautiful. Like, just you want them to be looked after and to played with and enjoyed, and you can tell that this girl loves her toys. And
Yeah.
so it was just, to me, it was just pulled at my heartstrings. I mean, like, I don't even know how else to explain it.
Yeah. It's a very I think it was a proper send off for Toy Story to like conclude a trilogy. I don't know how you could do it any better, honestly.
Yeah.
It was the perfect ending in my book. So yeah, I love how they did that, and it was just well executed. The emotions that are conveyed in that scene. It's definitely an emotional scene. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So
Yeah.
yeah, that you can't leave that scene out. I think, you know, we touched on the daycare and Lotso. Maybe touch on Lotso real quick. We kind of skipped over him a little bit. What'd you think of Lotso as kind of the villain of this movie, this plot?
I like how he puts on a different face, similar to the one character, um, for when they meet him, and then he's a whole different character when at night, basically was what it was. And he just wanted to, get some control in his life, and that's how he did it. And I thought that was really well done. And it it was it to me it wasn't scary, but it might have been to younger people.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I thought it was just brilliantly, like, because you have the total extremes where you have, like, the happiness and the sadness and the maybe even some terror in there. But, yeah, I just thought his character was really well established really quickly.
Yeah. He has that two-face going on, like you said, for sure.
Yeah.
And that's what makes him kind of scary. Um, the part where Buzz is turned and now he is working for them in a way. He's kind of one of the minions now. And he ties everybody up. There's just a shot of Lotso and he's just standing like with his cane and he's just giving this stare. And you hear all the commotion of Buzz uh tying them up and all this stuff. That's kind of a creepy scene actually when it's like getting a close up. It just shows like he's this conniving, very
Mhm.
sinister looking, even though I'm Lotso, you know, I got a hug and he
Yeah.
seems so friendly, but no, he turns and we've talked about different villains in the Pixar movies that we've discussed. I think everybody kind of saw that coming. It was kind of building towards it. They weren't trying to do that though. I think they were trying to like, you know, they were the ones that, oh, this is a twist. But I appreciate it. They weren't trying to be like, haha, gotcha. They
Yeah, I
kind of
feel like it was more of a, intensity than it
yeah,
was like let's build up to this, scary person or something. It was more like to build the tension,
yeah,
and I like that. I thought that was well done.
yeah. And I think he's kind of scary, he's kind of creepy, but I think Big Baby takes the cake for most creepy. Would you agree?
I'm not gonna argue.
So creepy. So creepy. It even when it's happy, like it's shutting the door and it does this like and it's like it sends a shiver up my spine. It's like I don't know what it is, but it's just woo. Oh
Oh.
the swing set at night,
Oh,
and
yeah,
they're
yeah, yeah.
sneaking around, and Big Baby that has gotta be one of the, like, stuff of horrors. I don't know, were you freaked out by that like me? Am I the only one that was freaked out by that scene?
I you know, I think it affected me more when I was younger, but now it's just amusing. Like,
Yeah,
the I don't know how to explain it. This movie, it's you go through the gamut of emotion. You get like a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and like certain scenes, they do different things to you, and they take you for a ride on this movie. They certainly do. Like that scene was something, that's for sure.
It's freaked me out, that's for sure. Seeing this baby doll just sitting on a swing looking up at the moon, just like, "La, la, la, la," and then it just kinda suddenly turns. It's like, "Oh, oh, man." That's something I don't wanna watch before I go to bed. That's maybe it's just me, but I talked about, Chuckles, people were freaked out from because 'cause they're like, "Oh, I didn't like that because I don't like clowns." I'm like, "I'm sorry, Big Baby was what was freaky to me." I love
Yeah, I would
Chuckles
agree.
the Clown. That
I would
was
agree.
much more creepy,
We're on the
so
same wavelength on that one.
I'm glad. I thought it was just me because it was like everybody was more freaked out by Chuckles. I'm like, "No, he was great." I love that. Not
Now,
Big.
Chuckles, if Chuckles was a main character, I would say I would think he'd be more creepy, but no, the little bit that he's shown,
Yeah.
it's just for still story. It's all for story.
Yeah, and he fits right in, so but
Yeah.
that's what Big Babies is, it's kind of the muscle of that group, keeping everybody in line, so it needs to
Yeah.
be intimidating, but in a creepy way, I guess, so I don't know, the missing eye and the one that just flickers, there's just something about
Yeah. Yeah.
it gets me. Anyway, we'll get off of that, I just yeah, wanted to touch on that, freaked me out, but anything else, it could be also, there's lots of quotes as well, if there's any quotes that you enjoyed or touch on.
We talked about the opening scene, and I love the "You've got a date with justice, One Eye Bart," and
Yeah.
he and One Eye Bart is so clever with his lines and that, and it's just really funny stuff. I can't say enough about, and we talked about Ken and Barbie. Barbie and Ken were very funny in this movie. And then there were touching moments as well, touching quotes. It's just truly takes you on a spin, I'll tell you.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of things that everybody can enjoy, and that's what I remember seeing it for the first time. I don't know of anyone that didn't enjoy this movie. It was just something that everybody can like about it. If it's the characters, if it's the plot, again, the animation is just still, I think, just beautiful to look at. I mean,
Yeah.
14 years ago, it's a long time, but it's not. But
Yeah. Yeah.
you just look at, how technology has come. I still think it's a very beautiful, it's just nice to look at movie. I will give it that over the first two. It definitely cranked up the animation, and the people were they're night and day. Like if you look at that, that's one knock I will say on the first two is Andy and them. They were getting the animation worked out by that point. So
Yeah.
I cut them a little slack. But if you want to be honest, it's like, man, that's so much better if you want to get down to it. So
They spent all their money on the bonding strip.
that's it. I love it. That's so good. But that's yeah, that's just some things we can touch on unless there's anything else that you wanted to bring out. I know there's so much we could say, but anything else to just kind of throw out there?
I mean, if we're looking at this as a trilogy, what a masterpiece they did with these 3 films. Um, I can't believe we're covering the 3rd one already. I mean, it's just like I can't comprehend it. I don't know
Yeah.
how we got here this fast.
I'm the same feeling. Yeah. I completely agree. I put my initial next to your statement. It's a really fun trilogy. This is a great way to send it off, and I mean, you go back through, I mean, we did it. I recommend it to anyone, not just this movie, but go back and you gotta watch it from 1 to 3, and you'll really
Yeah.
appreciate it as a trilogy for sure. It's a great trilogy, and yeah, it goes by quick though, for sure. You think, "Oh, that's a good amount of movies we've covered here," this is number 11 movies we've covered, and it feels like we've only considered a couple, but they've just
Yeah.
been all fantastic in different ways. But this
Yeah.
is one not to miss as well. So before we get to our reviews, we like to look around the net and just see what kind of feedback, what kind of reviews are out there. So Seth, what kind of reviews are you seeing?
I'm gonna be honest. I picked most of these for the names instead of the reviews.
I like it though. I like the. I
But
can't wait.
just to be completely clear, translucent. I don't know if that's the right word or not. That most of them had the same ratings, so I could kind of go through and find.
Oh yeah,
All right, so the
I
first
like it.
one, Movie Addict 2016 says, "Thank you, Pixar, 10 out of 10."
Oh wow. So they're a movie addict. I'll trust their judgment then. 10 out of 10. That's what we're seeing a lot on the reviews. Like I said,
Yeah.
it's been up there. So yeah, but he's got to live up to that name. I hope he's got a lot of reviews under his belt.
I didn't check that part.
Okay.
So one of our favorites is back. CC the Movie Man -1 said, "Succeeds in living up to expectations, 10 out of 10."
Wow. Okay. Yeah, we know him well, or she, CC the movie man. So
I
we
meant
know.
transparent, not translucent. I think translucent is a whole different thing.
Okay, I thought so. I was like, I don't think that's what you're going for. Transparent. Yes.
Transparent. All right. So the last one, this one I love so much. I think we may have used him at the beginning of our show. I can't when we first started doing reviews. It's a catchphrase said, blew me away, 10 out of 10.
It's a
It's a
catchphrase.
catchphrase.
I like those kind of clever names. That's a nice one.
Yeah.
I like it.
They spent time. They didn't just, you know.
Yeah. Those are good names. Oh, that's just what we do. I don't know. Maybe we're weird, but I love the names. So I love your approach of let's go with just the names. If you're getting
I don't
similar,
always do that. I don't
Right.
always do that. Today or whenever I wrote this, it was
yeah. I think that's a good strategy or good approach. I like it. I endorse that. If if we want a variety of reviews, but if that's what you're seeing, why not just go to the next step? It's like a tiebreaker way, right? Picking the review.
I guess basically if I broke it down real quick, I would say that if they're really similar ratings, I'll look for the funny names because it's funnier.
Exactly.
But if they're all over the place, I'll look for ones that are, 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10, because I want to give it variety. I want to give what people are around the world are saying about this.
Right.
Yeah.
You want that. Yeah. That's what
I'm trying. I'm putting an effort into it. It's not just.
No, I commend you. You did the right thing, and that's what I'm saying. I endorse that. That's great. We want some good laughs around here too, because we'll give you a shout out. If you have a funny name, chances are Seth will find you, and you'll hear your review on here. So just keep it up. Just keep up the funny names. We love it. We absolutely love those. So, all right. Well, there's some reviews, so let's get down to it. And I have to ask you, Seth. When it comes to the movie Toy Story 3, how would you rate it? Are you going to take it home? Are you going to leave it at grandma's? Or are you going to hide it in the attic?
I'll be quick with this one. So the ending alone is good enough to take it home. So that's what I'm going to do.
Wow. That sealed it for you then.
Yeah.
All right. It is a phenomenal ending. I mean, I could see that. So for me, I think this movie, like we talked about, it's how I would want a trilogy to end. I couldn't write up a better way to end this. And it's just feels so familiar. They did such a good job of bringing the characters back. I feel like I made a note because I was conflicted. I'll be honest. I was back and forth with this I think this movie deserves a take it home if you want to say it's up there, because this is, we're saying this is peak Pixar. This is our cap on peak Pixar. And not to say that there wasn't any more good Pixar, but there's different phases that you can consider. I had a note though, and I hope this is taken the right way. I felt like this movie compared to the other Toy Stories, I was trying not to compare it, but I still came to this conclusion. I feel like this movie is like sugar. And what I mean by that is you get those rushes and you get those, "Oh, this is great. This is wonderful," like any kind of sugary drink or food. But I do feel like it may not hold up as much, if that makes sense. Now that ending does, absolutely. I think but if you wanna take it as a whole, I don't know if it holds up as much to me. It gives so much nostalgia. There's so much fun parts with this movie. I really enjoy going through this. We talked about the animation, the characters, but it was just so tough. I was so back and forth. Maybe ask me on another day and I can say I'll take this home, but I'm actually gonna leave this at grandma's house. I think it's up there for me. I feel good revisiting this one. I think the first 2 Toy Stories are just such masterpieces that if they are on, I'm gonna stop what I'm doing and watch it. I mean, I wanna take it home and watch it constantly. I think this one, it kinda goes with some of the movies we talked about. It's like if you catch it on the right mood, you'll really enjoy it. So I almost wanna come back and revisit this one at a good
Yeah.
time where I can really enjoy it. And I still enjoy it even on those off times, if you wanna call it that or whatever. But it's very close. I'll say that. This is up there on the leave it at grandma's. It might be what grandma's got displayed out on her mantle or something. I don't know if she does that. Normally, my grandma would have it in a container, some kind of collection of them. So it's probably on the top, I would say, along with a few others. So that's my rating, and that's no knock. Like we've talked about on the show, it's just maybe not one I'm going to watch constantly compared to some other Pixar movies, but it's right there. If you've not seen this movie, I can't give it enough high marks. It's not really got much of a negative to it. I'm trying to think of
Yeah.
negative. Maybe it's just maybe because it is that emotional movie. Maybe that's why I go to that. That ending is a very emotional. And for me, I just like to revisit emotional movies. I don't know if I want to watch them all the time and be a emotional wreck. So maybe that's my
Yeah.
reason. I'll go with.
I was going to lecture you on comparing it to the first 2
Yes.
because I know you're not trying to, but you are.
Yeah.
But then I realized, you know, this movie it should be a standalone, but it's not.
Exactly.
It's the third one, and I'm gonna respect your beliefs on this one. Um, but I will argue that this is a good ticket home.
Yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
I think because it's such a nostalgia based movie, and there's when I was the right age really for the first one, and
Yeah.
I'm sure you were too.
Oh yeah.
But as I got older, I was the right age that Andy was for the college thing, I
Yeah.
think, or around there, around there.
Yeah.
And and it's like it really hit home more so the ending more so than the other 2. And
Yeah.
so for
Oh yeah.
that, I have to take it home.
I don't blame you. No, I
Yeah.
don't. I think we have good points. I don't blame anybody that would be like you brought out those reviews. 10 out of 10. I mean, as a movie as a whole, it deserves if not a 10, it's up there. So I don't disagree with that at all. It's just, that's what our reviews are. They're just your personal taste because I think that yes, that is a good point. It has the best ending and it should being the third of this trilogy, it does have the best ending out of all 3 of them. Absolutely. You can't argue that. I don't think it really hit home. It really got that emotional uh just captured it so well.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I agree with everything you're saying. Like I said, ask me on another day. Maybe I'll be like, "You know what? I could watch this all the time." But when I was
Yeah.
watching it again, I was just like, this is such a great movie, but I think it's one of those you just kind of maybe it's every month or 2. I'm not saying it has to be a long time, but you know what I mean. It's just maybe I'll give it some time before I revisit it again. And
Yeah.
and I love the quotes in this movie. I love the characters. They're so
Yeah.
great. There's so much we didn't even touch on.
The
Uh,
voice acting was great. I mean,
yes,
just so well done. So
yeah,
well done.
yeah. It's Tom Hanks, I mean like we talked about, they're all back except for the ones that unfortunately had passed away by that point. But
Oh, another fun fact real quick.
yes, yes.
So, Tom Hanks and Tim Allen argued to the studio to actually be able for the right to record together.
Oh, really?
Because most voice actors doing voiceover work record on their own in their own studio, but they wanted to jump off of each other's notes and lines and be able to react like originally, like real reactions to each other's lines.
Oh,
And they fought for that, right? And they got it.
I like that. And you could tell that, yeah, like
Yeah.
you're saying, the voice acting is just, it's the same it's been, but it just continues that. It goes on. It's just so great. And yeah, we usually wrap it up, but I have another fun fact to throw in there too, because
Sure.
I just thought of one when you just said fun fact. It's like a light bulb. Did you catch who was a trash man
No, I didn't.
in the junkyard? It was Sid.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Because he's got the skull, he's got the headphones on going,
Yes. Yes.
and he puts Lotso on his truck. So how fitting. That's another point I wanted to touch on. It's like, how fitting was that to have Sid, the villain from the first one, have Lotso, the villain from the third one, as kind of his new toy.
Oh, it just wraps everything up in a bow.
It does. That's what I think you got to just hand it to this movie. It wraps things up so well. It's just
Yeah.
pinpoint accuracy. I don't know how you could do it any better. I really don't.
Yeah.
So high marks for this one. I'm just being, I guess, different on it. Like I said, still check this out. Don't take that as a don't watch it, because like we said, Leave It at Grandma's is not a bad rating. Check it out though. Again, it's on Disney Plus, and be sure to watch the first two as you're going through. You'll really appreciate this movie. It's one of the best, I would say, arguably, it's one of the best third movies in trilogies, and that's a accomplishment because
Yeah.
it's hard to make a good trilogy. This was one of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, that does it, ladies and gentlemen. We have completed peak Pixar. I mean, it's amazing to think about. How do you feel, Seth?
I'm overcome with like like the surprising feeling. Like I can't believe that we've got here. We covered so many great Pixar movies. I like you said it perfectly. Each one has something in it that is redeemable, that is good, that is fun to watch. And so they're all worth watching. I mean, there's no Flintstones in this.
Oh, Flintstones is our like door stopper, isn't it? It's just our like little. We could just use that as if you're if you want to look at a positive in a movie, like, well, you're not the Flintstones. I like it. But yeah, this has been a fun journey. I've had an
It's been
absolute
great.
blast with you, and I would recommend, hey, you can watch all these on Disney Plus, but more than likely you probably own it. Go back through. It's a lot of fun to watch Pixar kind of grow up in front of your eyes. I remember living it, but when you go back through, you're kind of seeing that progression of Pixar. It's so much fun. These movies are a ton of fun. I could watch really all of them. Maybe not all of them. I give the rating of Take It Home, but I really could watch them anytime. It's just how the rating systems work and how we rated them. So this has been a fun journey. Before we wrap up, though, let's make sure we tell people where they can find us to keep up, because we got some fun excitement on the horizon. So you want to be sure that you're following us on these platforms. So Seth, where can people find us?
You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. You can always email us at movies@grandmashouse@gmail.com. And we are now on Patreon. So check us out, become a member, and stay up to date.
There it is. So we've been talking about it. This is the trilogy I think every person should have in your collection. You get them all three on Blu-ray. Like Seth said, if you become a Patreon member, you're going to get entered into this. So be sure to check us out. And this is officially our season finale, because we wanted to treat this as its own season, doing peak Pixar. So stay tuned. We're going to maybe be on a little bit of a break. We aren't sure how long. It might just be a little bit, but keep your eyes open. Like we said, follow us on those platforms so you'll be up to date on the news, and be on the lookout, because we are still going to do a recap of this peak Pixar. You won't want to miss it, because we're going to rank those movies. I don't know how we're going to do it, Seth. Do you think we can do it?
I think it's possible. It's just They're all so good.
I don't know. We're gonna try and do that challenging task of ranking
Yes.
them, so you do not want to miss it. We will keep you up to date when that comes up, though, because who knows? We might have feedback where you, the listener, can chime in on it. We can try and have some fun with that because I think it's going to be fun, but that's going to be such a headache trying to get it how we want it, get a good rating system. So stay tuned for that. It's a lot of excitement. Uh, we've been just having such a fun time. So we'd love to hear from you. Any memories that you have. We love hearing memories from these movies we consider. But going forward, we'll keep everyone posted. Just be sure to stay tuned for all of that. So again, that wraps things up for Peak Pixar. That wraps it up for Toy Story 3. So as they say, all good things must come to an end. But don't worry, we will be back soon to Grandma's. But in the meantime, remember to be kind and rewind. We'll see you next season. Thanks, guys.
So long, partner.
So long.